because it's going to get people twitchy. It's going to get them all kind of hepped up and subjective that actually I'm gunning for them. It's going to make this meeting even more uncomfortable than it needs to be.
House music.
The PIP. So the PIP, I want us to view the PIP, one of the common themes that we always get, especially when it comes down to managing informally in the first instance, is, well, the PIP is called a performance improvement plan. Performance improvement plan. So the first question we get asked when someone's doing this informally, can I take the words performance improvement plan off of the performance improvement plan? Because it's going to get people twitchy. It's going to get them all kind of hepped up and subjective that actually I'm gunning for them. It's going to make this meeting even more uncomfortable than it needs to be. And I think focusing on a title is the wrong thing. We want to focus on what the actual document is there to achieve and to do. This is, I mean, the best way I think about a PIP, a performance improvement plan, is that it's like your service history for an employee. This is kind of us going through those activities, those outputs that we're trying to measure. We're trying to identify the gap, what the problem is, and then what the solutions and support are going to be that are put in place, and the timeframes that we're looking for it to happen in. And one of the key things I would always say around this is the word reasonableness. That's the legal process anyway, but we want to be reasonable with this. If you're looking for a person to have a massive turnaround on, I don't know, they manufacture widgets and their output of the widgets is slower than it should be. They're only doing 20 a day and they should be doing 40. So there's a problem there. But it may be that they've not been effectively trained how to use the machine in the most effective way. I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent here about some widgets that don't even exist. So you're trying to measure that process, right? Is it reasonable to expect them to correct it in a day? Maybe not. Is it reasonable to expect them to correct it in a week? Maybe. Maybe it's 2. Maybe they need a month. But you need to be reasonable. You need to give them, we're not setting them up for failure. That's not what this process is. It's not, look, I'm going to document what I've done, but you're going to fail anyway, but at least I've saved my own skin, right? It's a case of support first. It has to be reasonable. We need to give people the opportunity to be able to achieve and change and impact on that performance gap to the way that we want them to. It's in your benefit that they do that. If they can do that in an informal stage and correct these issues, then you're not having to go down that journey of managing this process and doing that for such a long period of time, over 6, 12 months, right? So it's in your benefit. You get the employee that you need in the role that you need to be done, doing the work that needs to be done. So we want to make sure that we're setting this up and we're measuring it. But the other good thing about this particular document is it lays out, it sets out categorically, you've had this discussion. These are the concerns. This is the gap. This is the support that's going to be put in place for you. These are the things that we're expecting to happen. This is the time frame that it's going to take place in. It's a service history showing you how, and the employee, how things can change and the plan and strategy to make a difference and the support that's going to be put in place. Whether that's more one-to-ones, whether it's more training, buddying systems, whether it's adapting things in the workplace, all those sorts of things, that's what the PIP is going to be there for. And here we go. This is a basic PIP. This is a basic PIP. So as you can see on here, what we're looking to do is break this down into 4 distinct categories. What's the performance issue? What's the concern? Identify, remember, number 1, identify the issue. We want to identify what that gap is. The second column there is, what is it we're expecting people to actually achieve? Remember, this is a real big point. This is the minimum expectation. The job description is the minimum expectation of what people will be able to fulfill in that role. It's not the ceiling. We're not asking people to become a superstar. We're asking them to provide the bare minimum of what you're looking to achieve in that particular role. So identify the issue, identify the minimum of what is expected against that particular issue, And those two identify where the gap lies. So how far away is the current performance from that minimum standard, what you're looking to have? What's the support that you're going to put in place? Is that training? Is it one-to-one? Is it a referral to occupational health to see what reasonable adjustments you need to put in place? Are they at the moment doing hybrid working? And maybe for a period of time, you need to change the hybrid working, make it 100% working from the office so that you're there live to help and support them and to help them to achieve what needs to be happening. And what's the due date? When is the expectation? This is basic smart objectives right now, right? This is kind of teaching you to suck eggs. But what is the due date? When are we looking for this to be able to take place? When should this change? Because the thing is this is a live document. This is always going to be shifting and evolving. Remember that case I spoke about the manager at GP practice? They will achieve one thing because they'll focus on it so hard. They'll go through and they'll achieve that one thing. But then all of a sudden, because they've been focusing so hard on that, something wasn't even on this list to begin with, comes on because they've then not done that. So all of a sudden now you've taken one off, but replaced it with another. And what we're looking for here is sustained, continuous improvement. Not just, I did it well, boss. We broke the back of this. For 1 week, I was able to do this activity. That's not good enough. That may be great, but now we need to make sure that that isn't a one-off. 1 week does not make a pattern. A one-off event does not make a pattern. We are looking for sustained improvement so that I can take this off that list. And I'm confident that now you are able to do that and it works to the standard, and you're then going to take that off and overperform on that, hopefully, right? But you've met the minimum, and I'm happy that you will continue to do so. We're looking to be reasonable and set reasonable timeframes for them to achieve it, but this should be something that's looking for consistent, continuous improvement. Just because someone's hit that deadline and focused on it doesn't mean you take it off the list. It doesn't mean you stop doing the process. It means that you continue to make sure that, guess what, if you had to achieve that within 1 week, well, let's see if you do it again next week. And let's see if you do it again the week after. You're looking for continuous and significant improvement. That's what we're looking for here, not one-off events. So this is going to be a live document that you will continually keep, and you'll update and you'll go through. And when you work with us, by the way, on the HR Lite process, this template you're looking at right now is available on there, the whole thing. This is just a picture of what's on there. You get the whole thing, and we can talk you through that as well, all part of that process that you get. But with this, it gives you at least the bare minimum. You can take this away, have a look at it, come back. This is up for a week, okay? There are many, many PIPs available on the internet as well. You can go on and you can get your PIP and make sure that when you're having performance issues, that you are managing through these processes. You're taking these steps and you are actively monitoring it, and you're keeping these records. And what I would say is if you've done a PIP, this should form your agenda for when you're doing these meetings, that you're talking through these particular issues. How has things gone? What has been their experience? What's been the concerns they found? Has the support worked for them? What more can I do to help you to achieve these targets and outcomes? How much longer do you think we will need to be able to achieve these processes? You'll be looking to go through this on a regular basis. And then if you're meeting with them weekly, bi-weekly, you want to increase the frequency, right, of when you're having these meetings, you'll then have a record of many, many PIPs that you've done that will show that lifelong journey that you're taking with this, to show how they've moved from A to B to C to D to E. Or have they? Has it stayed the same? Have you had the same problems? Because this is going to be the catalyst to when you then go, it's not working and there's still a concern. And we've put a lot of things in to try and help improve. And we've had quite a few meetings about this, but it's not moved soon enough in the right direction to close that gap, right? So now maybe we need to consider whether this moves to a more formal stage rather than an informal, and follow it through your particular policies. And again, I mean, this is kind of a superfluous question, really, right? It's rhetorical in a lot of ways. Why manage it? It's the silent saboteur in your business. Poor performance is the silent assassin that is taking things down. Because whilst everybody else could be working like a headless chicken in your business, if that one person is not working to the level and standard they need, not only does that impact on the role, could impact on your clients, could impact on the outputs of whatever it is you're doing, whether you're doing a service, selling a product, manufacturing something, it can have that impact on your business through those mechanisms, but it will also decrease morale within your teams. It can set and train negative cultures. It can actually set and train, quite rightfully, when people raise complaints about bullying and harassment, they can be bullied and harassed because staff are so upset and cheesed off with the performance. I managed to not swear there, Jack. I want that noted, right? They've managed to kind of work through to a stage where, you know, they're struggling with their performance and there's things that happen there, but then they turn the rest of the people in their team against them. And rather than dealing that in a positive way, it does turn into a case of bullying harassment. And you've got a bigger, wider problem because then you've got a team of people that are performing, but then are bullying and harassing someone that's not. And that's not acceptable either. That's not a situation you want to have. So it can change your cultures. It can bring things down. It can take, if you've got a manager that's managing this in their team, this becomes the majority of their job of what they're doing on a regular basis. That's not a good use of their time either. Or it's you that's having to do that. This is the silent saboteur. The key thing here as well is to remember that in the UK, I think it's about 50% of the workforce is disengaged, checked out, tuned out. They're not there. Those people are actively coming in and sabotaging your business. They're not doing it deliberately. They're not coming in and deliberately just pulling the wires out of your computers and stuff. They're not doing it in a deliberate fashion. But because you're allowing them in and they're doing a substandard job, or they're doing substandard work, or the outputs are poor, the performance is bad, the culture becomes negative. It becomes that people are turning against other people and you're getting this horrible environment of bullying and harassment that starts to take place. When you start to work your way through this, it can just ebb away at everything else. I think one of the classic environments that I worked in, and anyone who's watching this, I don't know, on LinkedIn, who's worked with me in the past, I worked in an IT department. I won't say where, but it was very strange because there are people that have a particular mindset and mentality is how they adapt to things. So I'm not categorizing everybody, by the way. If you're working in IT, I'm so sorry, but they have a particular mindset. They're very kind of mechanical in that way of how they think about things, how they think about, you know, correcting a computer or networking and all these other bits and pieces that could take place. They don't really have that other instinct when it comes to managing people, because people are not a mechanical thing. It's not work, doesn't work in the same way. So coming forward and having these conversations is a very difficult, complex thing for someone in that environment to do. It's not a natural thing. It's outside, way outside their comfort zone. But what they don't realize is by not addressing that issue, they've allowed that secret kind of silent assassin to sneak in that then brings down so much more. That means changing a culture, changing behaviors and patterns and how people would talk and treat to each other. It becomes such a bigger issue to try and resolve. It's easier to resolve and manage one person and their performance than it is trying to correct the whole entirety and culture and behaviors within a business, right? It matters. It matters to manage it.
House music.